Hey, how's it going, guys? Hope you're doing well. Obviously, this is kind of a crazy, weird time. Everyone's working from home. I've been working from home for the past 10 years, so it's pretty normal for me. The only kind of new thing is that we're homeschooling now, and I mean, it's been going well. So I would like to know how you guys have been doing. If you've been feeling like doing anything creative or music related or anything like that, or if you're struggling to find your new normal, anything like that. So I'm here to help because I mean I've been struggling honestly. So I need some human interaction. I'm gonna go through the chat a little bit here. There's a bit of a lag between what I say and um, when I see a response. So just let me know how's it going. Uh, Pavel says, "Is this your song?" Yep, this is one that I used in a demo pretty recently. Um, you'll see it like 2, 3 videos ago. Maybe it was the last video. I don't know. Recently, anyways. The cyberpunk style track breakdown. I featured this song. Will Dunham says, "I have a weekly talk show that airs on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. Who would like to be a guest?" I don't know. I'm kind of intimidated by that. The social distancing thing, like at first it was like I just didn't want to even be online. The quarantine in Poland is terrible, but finally I have time to work in Reaper now. I mean, at least you have that. Um, I mean, for a lot of people, it's like, yay, we have a lot of time, but we just don't feel like doing it. Or if you don't have any big projects that like are on the go, it's hard to get in the right mindset to do it. At least for me, and what I've been seeing online, a lot of people have the time, want to do it, but then just are in a creative rut at the same time. Got like 45 people in here right now. Cool. Um, if you want to spread the word, tell people that I'm live, that would be awesome. Total lockdown in India. Cool. Um, talk about dynamics control. BX Master Desk. Um, I don't know that plugin. Um, okay, dynamics control, I guess you mean in mastering. So, in 7 and 6, do you mean LUFS? Because you can't always go by the number. You got to find the loudness sweet spot, where the spot where it sounds the best for that song. And so whether that's -12 or -7 LUFS, then so be it. But your peak level is always going to be like -1 dBFS. And to achieve that, sometimes you need multiple stages of compression. Um, yeah, I would try not to use a single processor to get your mastering done. So you've got your EQ, you might have multi-band compression, you might have single band compression, you might have a limiter, and um, but yeah, you have to find the right balance of making it loud and keeping it dynamic, keeping it energetic, all that kind of stuff. Wired Up Studio says, honestly, enjoying this isolation. Mixed a track for a band in Nepal. That was different. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing a couple one-on-one lessons, but right now I don't have any big projects. Haven't felt like making videos really, other than doing the ones for Patreon right now. Um, but I have some stuff coming up. I've got a bunch of projects on the go, but like nothing that I'm like super excited to work on. But you know, that will pass, I'm sure. Um, Chris says, "Feel you, man. Hard to motivate some days. Still enjoying what you're doing." Yeah, I just want to make myself available at the very least. Try to answer some questions. Try to, you know, be part of the community, even if I don't really want to. You know what I mean? Like if I just want to kind of be alone. I usually am not on social media during the day very much, and lately I have been, and it's just kind of put me in a bad mood. So this week I've been off again and feeling better. Um, you know, reading the Facebook feed can kind of put you in a bad mood most days, and if you read that first thing in the morning, it's a bad start. Rocco asks, "How effective are your orange lit QR diffusion panels?" Um, they they're very interesting. I can't say I've compared them to other things. They're made by, I think they're made by Acoustics first. I got them used, and I think I'm the third owner of them. I have 8 of these panels. They're about 2 by 2, um, 4 inches deep, something like that, 3 or 4 inches deep, and they're very interesting. They don't sound like absorbers where it just sounds dead. There's no echo or anything at all. They control the sound, but they they don't make it sound dead. So like they'll completely eliminate flutter echo um, without taking away any of the high frequencies, and that's the problem I had before just doing 100% broadband absorption. So I really like them. But yeah, they are expensive. It would probably be $1,200 for them. I think I got them for 300 as the third owner. Yeah, multiple stages of compression. Legrand Dupont like to know about video processor effects. Sure, I can. It's some of that stuff is tricky to talk about with code, but yeah, I can talk about it a little bit. I don't just yeah. Go ahead, put in your next question. I have a guitar going direct to my interface and use amp sims. What attack and release times on recomp would you use to emulate a compressor pedal in the beginning of the signal chain? I feel like I've answered this before, maybe. Um, Honestly, I would probably use one of the compressor pedals in your virtual amp sim. Like Helix has a bunch of compressors. Um, what else? Like Pod Farm, pretty much all of the big bundle virtual guitar amps have compressor pedals built in. Um, and if you don't want to use that, you could at least use that as a basis for finding the correct recomp settings. But I don't know. Um, I always find that compressor pedals for guitars sound kind of weird. They sound kind of over the top, kind of, they grab the note in kind of a weird way, or they just kind of make everything loud and noisy. I don't use compressors before the amp too often. Um, you could probably get much cleaner, more transparent effects using recomp. Um, and I wouldn't really um, have like a go-to setting for that. You know, I don't know, maybe 4-to-1 slow attack, maybe fast attack. I don't know. Like if you use a faster attack, you want to use a lower ratio, and then you might want to actually use 2 compressors to kind of get the overall sound that you want. So don't be afraid of using multiple processors. Is the loudness war over? Probably not. It's just entered a different phase where everyone's trying to fight the algorithm, and I don't. Yeah, everyone's trying to beat what the normalization stuff is doing, which is there to help you. So It's I don't know. It's frustrating because even though the streaming platforms are all normalizing to make it consistent, whether it was mastered loud or quiet, people are finding ways to make theirs still louder than everyone else's, and I think it's not really serving the music. Um, yeah, I don't talk about the loudness war here very much, but we have a podcast, the Mastering Show, with Ian Shepherd, where I co-host and edit that show. And all the mastering topics we talk about there, and I try not to talk about it too much here because it's, yeah, it can be tiring to fight that battle. But yeah, I would like to say that the loudness war is over, but I think it's just entered another battle. Humba Rumba says, I've been using the time to start mixing a 5-song project. It totally absorbs my time. Thanks for your channel. It's one of the 3 or 4 things that have helped me. That's really awesome, humbling to hear. I've noticed that a lot of more people are going through the backlog of videos just by seeing the comments and everything. I've been lucky that while other people's channels have been going down in popularity, mine has been continually going up since like December. Traffic and everything, views, AdSense income has all been great, and it's awesome to know that people are watching. Like right now, we have over 50 people watching me talk to the camera, look at the chat, and it's awesome. It's amazing. More questions about the diffusers. They're like a hard plastic, kind of. And there's on the back of them, there's spray foam to like make them a little bit more dense. But yeah, that's how I got them, and they've been painted twice since then, I think. So it's not foam, it's not wood. It's like a hollow plastic, but not like flimsy. It's pretty sturdy. They're heavy, actually. BHR asks some good tutorials about video. Thank you. Yeah, I've got a whole course about it. Reaper blog video tools. I'm typing it in. Show you a link in a second. Yeah, so a whole bunch of video lessons. You get my presets that I use. There's 24 presets. Yeah. This is really the only course on using video or doing video production in Reaper. And yeah, and it's the only preset pack you can get for the video processor. So this has been doing really well. Lots of people happy with that product. So, and that sells for $30 on my website, reaperblog.net/video-tools. We'll take you right through there. I lost the chat. Where is it? Which studio monitors are you using currently? What's your recommendation for getting basic acoustic treatment for someone who is renting out the room they work in and may have to move out later? Okay, so I'm using Focal CMS 50s, which you probably can't buy anymore, but I would recommend anything from the brand Focal. Before that, I was using Yamaha HS50s with a sub, and I liked that combination, but there is definitely a particular tone about those monitors, and these are much more neutral. And the interesting thing when I tried them out was that my mixes that I did on the Yamahas still sounded good on the Focals, where everything else kind of sounded weird and different. And I don't know, they've been working well for me. And since I bought these ones, the Alpha series came out, so those are probably what I would recommend. Focal Alpha series, with a sub if possible. And basic acoustic treatment, I use a lot of broadband absorption panels made of rigid fiberglass. I made them myself, and it's super inexpensive to make them yourself. You can get like 6 panels for like $100 or so. You need just some basic tools to make them. And whereas buying them, they could be like $100 a piece. So you need lots of acoustic treatment. Usually treat the entire area up to, arm's distance, what they call the mirror position. If you move a mirror, a hand mirror, and you can see the speaker in the mirror, then that's a spot you want to treat. So I do from in the side of the speakers all the way around in front of me here, and then a cloud above me. I'm gonna mess up my camera angle, but I've got acoustic treatment there as well. I guess I could turn the... I don't want to turn the whole camera around and completely mess it up. But yeah, that's kind of the minimum. You want lots of coverage behind the speakers. People don't really realize that treating one wall kind of treats both, because sound bounces back and forth, instantaneously. And so if you treat one wall for something like flutter echo, that kind of treats both, but doing both walls is even better. And considerations for if you have to move out. Most of my panels are hung up by a single screw on the wall, and you won't lose your damage deposit if you have a couple like holes for hanging pictures or anything like that. So I've never worried about it. You can fill the holes with drywall filler. They, if you're renting a place, they always paint after you move out. Or you can paint it if you somehow destroy the wall, but it's very unlikely. A single screw hole is nothing. I just use like 1.5 inch drywall screws, and I've been doing that in 3 apartments or houses so far, and 0 issues with that. All right. I lost where I was in this. I think a lot of comments have come in since I started talking about acoustic treatment. Okay. How to move audio over another what? Simon asked, how do you move audio over another one in Reaper and make it work like in Pro Tools? I think you mean like shuffle mode. In Pro Tools, there isn't really anything like that in Reaper. That's wrong. Yeah. Pressing the wrong button here. Just a second. So Reaper has a ripple mode where if you drag this, they both move together, but there isn't a mode that swaps positions like in Pro Tools. So, so if you want to swap these two, there you have to open up the action list, and I think it's called swap. Nope, it's called something. I know that there's an action. Shuffle order of selected items. We'll do that. but there isn't an option where you can just drag them together, as far as I know. But yeah, if you select the two, hit shuffle order, that will put the one at the front at the end. Tips for syncing audio and video in a live stream? Yeah, good question. In OBS, okay, so this camera that I'm using has a latency on its HDMI out, and then I'm going through the Elgato Camlink 4K, which also has a latency. So, oh, I actually had a picture of that earlier today. Someone was asking. Well, I shared it without without anyone asking. But hang on. So my settings here in the audio properties, I can't tell if I'm zooming in the right spot. I'm delaying my audio by 324 milliseconds or 330. I can't remember why I had a different number for these, but yeah. But if you're streaming and you have a DSLR as your video camera, you have to delay the audio. To figure this out, I think I did a hand clap and just recorded a bunch of videos until I got that right. I would look at the number of frames and then convert that to milliseconds, and then that's what I put in here. So, so yeah, this is what works from my system. 324 on the on Reaper's audio output or anything going through loopback, and then my microphone gets delayed by 330, and I think I just played a click track and then wait when that hits the microphone and is in the recording, I can compare that to the original and just change that. So I don't have to do any syncing anymore when I'm doing videos. Just the files, the audio, everything lines up perfectly already. So that's been a big help. Did I see I got a new member? Diego. Thank you. If you guys didn't know, as an alternative to Patreon, we are doing, or I am doing, memberships on YouTube where there are some benefits like you get a little icon beside your name when you're commenting on the channel or in the live stream. There's some other stuff I don't really remember. I don't have it completely set up like I do with Patreon because there's only a few people signed up. But if doing a Google payment is better than doing a Patreon payment, then yeah, happy to have your support. How do I make my mixes sound not so raw? Like how to get the noise out. I always recommend Isotope RX as a tool for cleaning up your audio. Like, you know, if you don't work in forensic audio or, you know, audio restoration stuff, people might think that they don't need that, but you can find a use for Isotope RX in pretty much every single project. I'm using it right now on my microphone to do the live streams. I've cleaned up video, podcasts, noisy guitars. You can use that, and it makes a huge difference. Just drops the noise floor down to nothing, and it's much cleaner than a gate often. So, yeah, I would recommend that. You can also use the noise reduction built into Reaper, which is called Reafir, Reafir. It's not as sophisticated. It's much harder to use. So, Don't really recommend it, but you can do it. Sorry if I'm missing any questions. There's just a lot, and I'm not scrolled down to the bottom. Has anyone you know been infected, or anyone who lives near my place? Not that I know of. There's things have been pretty good as far as I know. I think there was some cases at one of the nearby schools, but not the school that my kids go to. But I don't know. We've been trying to stay inside as much as possible. We've been to the store like 3 times, I think, in the past 18 days that we've been stuck inside, something like that. I don't know. I think people in this country have been taking it fairly seriously, but not everyone. And it only takes one person to infect like 3, and then they infect 9, and before you know, it's like 500 and within 30 days. So we'll have to do our part. If all platforms use the same loudness level, yeah, I mean, they're all pretty similar. They're around minus 13 LUFS or minus 14, but that's not the target. And I think people get that number and think that they have to master their music to that level, but it's not. You still have to go by what sounds best for that song. And you don't want your gentle orchestral quartet music to be as compressed as the latest Skrillex release. You don't want those to have the same loudness target because they're just vastly different. So you gotta serve the music, and I don't know, ignore the loudness war, I guess. Once again, we all have to do our part. Have I used remote process external plugins? I've done it just for a tutorial video, but like you said in your question, running UA plugins on external hardware, that's what I wanted to do when I had an iMac and a PC set up, and I had a UAD1 card in it. But you have to have the exact same plugins on both computers, and so the UAD cards would not work. So yeah. Marshall got snow? What? Snow in Oregon today? It's a little bit chilly today, but I mean, it doesn't snow here very much in Vancouver. Is automation on tracks post or pre effects? It can be either, depending on what you're doing. Volume automation is after or pre, but panning is after. Need to check that. It will say pre effects if there is. So there's a volume pre effects, a pan pre effects, and a width pre effects, or the normal ones are post effects. Question about the stock saturation plugin, the JS saturation plugin. Does nothing but simply make the signal louder. It definitely makes it louder, but if you look at an analyzer, it's actually making the first harmonic louder. So I often use several in a row if I want to use that as saturation, and then I turn down the overall signal by like 12 dB or something like that. It's not a very sophisticated saturation plugin. It's a very simple one. John's saying, thanks for your video on chord gun. Can't play piano, and it's been very helpful. Yeah, I saw someone else commenting about that video yesterday, And yeah, it's cool. It's always interesting to see which videos don't get a lot of attention at first and then come back later. And a lot of people comment like at the same time. A lot of people finding the what is it, the recast plugin video today, and apparently it doesn't even work anymore. Marshall's been using Ninjam. Yeah, it's odd that that plugin never really came out of alpha. It's not even a version 1 plugin yet. It's been in Reaper since the beginning, as far as I know. But now it's everyone's using it again. Kenny did 2 videos in the past month about it. I looked at it a little bit. I'm not really. I don't know. I don't want to just jump into someone's music composition and start playing because I'm really bad. But it sounds really cool, or it seems like a really cool thing. I was kind of thinking of coming in to make a video and troll people. I don't know, but it seems kind of mean right now. Yeah, we got some people recommending the video course. Gwendon said, just did my first video in Reaper. Couldn't be happier. Very easy to use. Yeah. Yeah. I can't believe it's already been 5 years that I've been editing videos in Reaper. It's like, it's kind of hard to imagine using something else. Like I was using iMovie, ScreenFlow. I think I tried Final Cut years ago. I tried Premiere. I tried Resolve. Probably a bunch of other free options like HitFilm, and like nothing works as well as Reaper for video, in my opinion. On my systems, it's always been faster, more configurable, exports faster. Obviously, the video effects you got to kind of build your own, but now it's like I have everything I want. It's awesome. Am I still using ScreenFlow and Loopback? I've been using OBS and Loopback these days. And as long as I remember to do my screen captures with whatever I'm showing kind of in the top left corner, because my video camera is going to be embedded in the exported video. Yeah. One of the reasons I switched is because I can do camera switching. Like I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, all in real time, and it gets embedded in the video and saved with the video, and yeah, and it's all just done for me. I just have to, I don't know, cut around it. So that saved tons of time in the editing. And what's the other thing? Oh yeah, and I don't have an extra like hour of export time going between ScreenFlow and then going into Reaper and starting my edit. So when OBS is done the recording, the video file is already made. I have a couple drag and drop tools that I made for converting the audio from it, so I have separate audio streams from that. But yeah, it's saved a lot of time in post-production. So now the only limitation is my motivation for making videos. A lot of the technical stuff I've really streamlined in the past couple months. How do you print MIDI out of Megababy? Okay, so you can set the track to record output. Let me show you that. Okay, so you've got Megababy on a track. I think I've got it in my list here. What is it? MIDI sequencer Megababy. You should use V2, I think it is. Is that it? No, it's the other one. Right, so this is the one you would use, and you've got your pattern here. Let's put in a couple notes. And If you want to record its output, you right click on the track, record output, MIDI, chord enable, and then, oh, I got music playing here. And I gotta make sure that like pre-roll and everything is turned off. Turn off pre-roll for recording. So yeah, that's how you would do it. You can record the sequence from here into here. And then you just set the plugin offline or bypassed. So yeah, that's how you do it. Carl Grimm Music asks what Mac and specs are you using. It's a 2015 MacBook Pro 15-inch Retina. Hang on. It's not a high-end system at all. It's a 2.2 gigahertz i7 with 16 gigs of RAM. So, yeah, nothing special. I got it refurbished in 2017, and I'm definitely considering getting something new at this point. I bought this as kind of my backup system for my 2012 iMac. So in 2017, I was thinking of replacing the iMac, and then about 6 months later, the iMac had actually completely died. So yeah, I'm glad to have it. Huge plugin size with T-Rex, Stealth Limiter, and some other ones. Each time you open it, you have to reduce it. How do you set that up? Interesting question. Okay, I think I have a solution for that. So T-Rex, Stealth Limiter. Are these resizable at all? Don't think they can be resized. Let's see. Can you resize just the left side? No. All right, let's say I wanted to shrink this down to like just this size. I'm pretty sure you can save this as a preset. Actually, possibly. Actually, no, you can't. I thought I had a solution for this, for resizing it. Where'd it go? No, it doesn't resize. Some plugins do let you do that. So let's check the VST version. No, there's no resize options on these ones. A plugin like Recomp Re-EQ, where it actually resizes the UI depending on the size, that will get resized based on your default preset. So if I make it this big and then save my default preset, my screen's covering, so I go to plus button. Nope, still covering up. Press the plus button, say preset as default. I just call it start. And then when I put the plugin in again, it's that same size. I'll just do that again with a smaller size. Say preset as default, start, and it saves that size. So only certain plugins will do that. So unfortunately, the T-Rex plugins do not resize. Isaac asks, any way to make Reaper select and deselect channels automatically when using Mackie controller? I'm not using a Mackie controller, but I'm using the Mackie mode on my Behringer controller, and track selection does follow what I do in Reaper. So I'm not sure if there is a setting for that. Let's see, view menu. Track manager may have some things that affect that. Yeah, actually, might be that you have these settings not selected. So I have the track manager here. If I right click, there's mirror track selection, scroll to select a track when mirroring selection. Yeah, those are what I use. And I'll show you my control surface settings as well. Which, yeah, it's just default. So I don't know. It's either one of these, or it's just something kind of weird with your particular device. Giannis says, I've done this question somewhere before with no luck. Monitoring effects can be only used on channels 1 and 2? Question mark. My main channels are channels 17, 18. Any tips? Yeah, I got a tip for that. Go to view menu and monitoring effects. I've got the Morphit plugin here. So this is a headphone calibration software, and I only want this running on my headphone outs, my second headphone outs, and so I've got this set up like this. So input comes in 1 and 2, but the output comes in on 3 and 4. And in your case, you would just make this 17, 18. Like that. With whatever software you're using. Hope that makes sense. You're just using the plugin routing matrix to choose its output. And I'm pretty sure once you have one of these out, yeah, once you have the output set for 1718, then it will be redirected there. Yeah, that should be all there is to it. Question about Catalina 10.15 getting some issues with plugins and Reaper blocked by macOS. I saw something on something I tweeted yesterday. Osiris Guitar had a article about this, how to make unsigned VSTs work in macOS Catalina. I will link that in the chat. That was for you. How do I tag you? I don't know how to tag you. There it is. I think that's it. I'm not on Catalina yet. I'm still on Mojave, I think it is. Do you think Reaper will ever have 4-point editing source destination? I think because we have scripts for that right now, I don't think they're gonna officially do that because we have a pretty good workaround for that now already. I don't know. It's not something I've actually ever used or needed, but I know that for very specific types of stuff like orchestral music, you need that. I don't know. I've done a little bit of that kind of editing and didn't really have any issues with doing it with either regions or I don't know, just copy and paste, I guess. But there is, if you check my website, there is a script for that and lots of videos and things on that. Tips on using impulse responses for guitar cabs in Reaper. Yeah, find the impulse response loader that you like the most. There are a bunch. I don't know what category I have those in saved in. There are a lot of them. There's several free ones. I was testing them and I forgot which one I like the most. The thing you have to consider is like the latency or the CPU load, because sometimes the ones that have just a little bit of latency have much lower CPU load. There's some that have zero latency and zero CPU load. You can use the built-in reverb with that comes with Reaper for loading impulse responses, and that one works pretty much fine. But yeah, like I said, there's a lot of options. There's some cool plugins that let you mix several really easily. And so if you're looking for a very unique sound or you have a big collection and you want to quickly find the best blend of different impulse responses, then that's the way to go. I forget, there's a bunch that came out in the past year that were really interesting, but just the name is escaping me at the moment. Ossian OTT says, how important is it to have the same frame rate in the video in the settings in Reaper when editing video? My phone records at 30.4 FPS. There's no equivalent in Reaper. Yeah, so a lot of phones will actually adjust the frame rate to compensate for exposure. So having really consistent lighting can help reduce that variable frame rate issue. But I don't worry about it too much. I do everything at 30, whether it's stuff shot on my video camera at 29.97 or screen capture stuff, which is supposed to be locked at 30, but may not be. Yeah, just go with the closest one, and half a frame is usually not an issue, or 0.4. You know, I don't think anyone's going to notice as much as like audio out of sync or anything like that. Yeah, Pete says Isotope RX is the most useful plugin I have, bar none. Yeah, even that basic essential bundle, like I think everyone, is it essential elements? That's what it's called. Even I think everyone should have that. It was on sale for like $30, or it was $10. There's some ridiculous sale on it recently, like a month or two ago. How would I compare RX to Reefer on subtractive mode? It depends on the sounds, but Reefer doesn't really allow you to adjust how much of something is being taken out. It's all sort of like, I find that the artifacts in that are really obvious, and RX is, sometimes it doesn't do enough, but very rarely are you getting into where you hear artifacts before you have enough noise reduction. And it's just been like, I thought version 2 was just magic. It didn't have any right to sound as good as it did, and it's only gotten better since then. Do you find Reaper has rendering issues? Not really. I'm mostly exporting videos these days, and yeah, I don't really have issues with that. MP3s, waves, they all render fine. Certain plugins might cause the occasional issue. Sometimes, like Ozone, there might be a little pop right at the beginning. And if it's consistently doing that, I'll just, um, I don't know, automate the master fader volume like one sample or something like that, like notch it down one sample, um, or to zero at for the length of one sample, and it works fine. Or I can avoid that issue. How often do you use transient shapers? Pretty often when mixing drums. Um, that's mostly where I use them. I will usually, I can show you my starting point with that. So the built-in JS transient controller, my starting point is like plus 50 and minus 25 attack and sustain. Can you see that? This is my starting point. I put this on like kicks, snares, and toms especially. So I usually want to control the ring out of the tom, and I want kind of a sharper attack. So I'm using that quite a lot, but there are a lot of other ones that I do like. Let's see. I have to search for transient or something. I don't have a category saved for this. Transify from Joey Sturgis Tones is really cool because it's a multi-band. You get 4 bands of transient shaping, attack sustain, the filter cutoff, and it's a multi-band clipper. So you can do some pretty cool stuff for shaping drum tones with that. If you can find it, there's the Sonic Anomaly Transpire. Is another good one. This one may be kind of hard to find because he kind of stopped making plugins. But again, this is the transient or the attack and the sustain portions. There's kind of a mix. No, what is it? An amount control, something like that. And then the overall output. It's another cool plugin. I think I might have another one, but I don't know off the top of my head if I have another one. But this one is like my go-to on like every drum track, and if I need like more control, then I'll switch over to Transify. But they're both like super low CPU, and you can use a ton of them. I like what they do. As for mastering for different services like YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, etc., I hear many different opinions about that. What's your take on it? I feel like we've done this topic to death on the Mastering Show podcast, so I don't really want to get into it here. But I guess my opinion on it is that you don't always have the option of doing different versions. You can, most of the time, you can only export one version or only upload one version unless you have some really good connection with those services directly. SoundCloud doesn't do normalization. YouTube does, Spotify does, Apple Music does, depending on various factors. So like Spotify doesn't normalize things in your own library, only things that they stream. Apple Music has it optional. So there's a kind of a bunch of factors. They don't all use the same thing. But one master that you do for CD or vinyl should work like on every surface. It should sound good, and it's just a matter of playback volume. That's really the difference, because they're not adding compression, they're not limiting, they're not changing the EQ. They're the only things they're changing are the playback level and the bit rate. How do I move the cursor one frame forward or backwards? That's a good question. That's something that's very essential for video editing. What I'm using is a script. Hang on a sec. This is in Repack. This looks like a blur on my stream output, but move edit cursor to next frame, move edit cursor to previous frame. This should work with drop frame. What's the word? Drop frame rate. Yeah, I'm using this on option right and option left. I have another one, which is just a modification of this. Like if you just edit this, change the number of frames from 1 here to like 15, then you can get half a second. So I believe I've done that and this. So I've just copied that script and made a minor modification to get 15 frames forward. So I was wrong about where that was. It's here. These lines here. Oops. I resized it. Yeah, it just moves the edit cursor and by 15 frames. So I'm using those a ton in my video edits. So using option right or option left to move the edit cursor by 1 frame. And if I add in shift, then I'm doing 15 frames at a time. So yeah, can't edit without that. What's the best mixdown setting for videos to upload for YouTube, both video and audio? It kind of depends on a few things, like what type of video is it? If it's just a podcast with an audio, like no moving video, you can export a 1 frame per second video and it will play back great. I can show you my exact settings for different things. So my 1080p video, I mean, this is going to be different if you're on Mac versus Windows, but I use 8,000 kilobits per second as my video bitrate, and I do 30 FPS. But I've got other presets here. So like a podcast video, it's the same. I set it to 4K, or yeah, 4,000 kilobits per second and a frame rate of 1. But if I have something like a moving waveform, then I might have this at like, I don't know, 15 frames per second. So all these things affect the quality and the speed that it renders at and the file size. What I was using last year when all my videos were 2K was this. So 16,000 kilobits per second at 30 FPS. But I can't get OBS to record my full screen at all. It just crashed. It doesn't crash, but like it really hangs up. Right now, OBS is using 20% of my CPU to do this stream. So it's about that bad, or worse, doing recording at the same time. So hopefully that helps. It's a little different on Windows because you're using the FFmpeg encoder with MP4. Is that the only option? KV. I don't remember. I guess that's the only one. But you probably want to do about 70% for this. I might have the wrong version of FFmpeg here to do it. Yeah. But if you're on Mac, you should use the AV Foundation encoder, streaming optimized. How do you switch VST presets via MIDI or track automation? That's a good question. I've done it before, but not too often. I know there's a couple ways of doing it, but I don't recall. Let me think about that. All right, so if I want to change patches, I can put in the, what is it? The Recontrol MIDI plugin. I know you can do it through there somewhat. There's the bank program select functions, but you have to load in a file. So that may not work. And the plugin has to actually respond to those. So let's try the GM sound bank. Let's see if we can get this plugin to actually change. It probably won't. No, I guess it doesn't. Yeah, it's one of those things you got to find the right combination of things for the plugin and the yeah, like if it goes through the MIDI, got to like look at the actual user guide for it to see if it responds to program bank changes or bank/program changes, or if it has some other shortcut for doing it. There is an action for next preset. Yeah, so like trigger next preset for effects 1 of selected tracks. So this would be effects 2 because it's the second in the chain. If I run on that, so that's changing. So this doesn't let you go to a specific preset. As far as I know, you can only trigger the next or previous. Yeah, you can't go to a specific preset number. Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of a compromise. You can set them up on separate tracks. That's usually easier. Sending bank changes is one possibility that might work. The other one is triggering the next preset, and to get them in order, you would have to build a custom preset list, preset bank file. So, not ideal, but it is possible. How long have we been going? An hour? Cool. When I consolidate a project, the audio export gets very loud, kind of normalized. Is there a way to get all the levels like I have it in the mix? When you consolidate, it should be pre-fader. It's pre-fader. So the other way to do it is from the render window, and you render selected tracks, which is post-fader. So if your tracks are super loud, then it's going to do that. But Reaper doesn't do any normalizing on export. Sorry guys, sometimes the chat just jumps down like 100 lines and I lose where I was. Jack Random says, I was trying to automate some video processor controls with parameter modulation link, but it doesn't work with the audio sidechain. Am I missing something? Yeah, so it's not going to work like that. You can kind of get it to work, but it doesn't really work. What your best bet is to do is have the parameter modulation work on some other control. So you're having it react to audio, but you're writing to just some dummy control. And then you copy and paste that into the video effects controls or automation lane. And that's how you do it. So maybe I should just show you. That's probably easier. So I'll get a loop. I'll just show you. All right, so we got some drum loop here, and I'll need a video as well. All right, so let's just loop this. I'll have a bit of video here. Okay, so I've got some video and I've got some music here. And let's say I want the audio from this loop to affect the video processor in some way. So I'll put on video processor and I don't know, color controls, and we'll do like saturation change. So your instinct is to go to parameter modulation MIDI link it to an audio control signal from from tracks 1 and 2, which is receiving from the loop. And I would want to have no audio out on this. So as you can see, it's not receiving. It's because video and audio are not processed kind of in the same thread, or they don't work together through this sidechain thing. So that's what you were seeing so far. Now the way to do it is to take some other effect. Like you could take my my macro controller or something like that. Really, it doesn't matter. Any plugin at all will do this. So where is it? I want something that doesn't actually generate a noise and be weird for you guys on the stream. So I'm going to do my macro controller. So I can just take macro 1, macro 1, hit parameter, go to parameter modulation MIDI link, audio control sidechain. We're going to start in the middle, channels 1 and 2. And you can see this one is moving with the audio. I'm going to take this track, go to the start, go to write mode. Hopefully you're seeing this on my screen. Go to write mode, hit play. Go to write mode. Again, make sure you... Oh, come on. Why is that not moving? Okay. Just make sure it's armed. Okay, so we're in write mode. You can see it's writing that automation. Hit stop, it switches to trim mode. We can then put in an automation item there and go back to our saturation control. Show the track envelope for that. And we're just going to move this down to there. Let's go back to our video window. And now we've got the audio affecting any parameter we want. It's a lot of extra work. The other option is to use a plugin called Video Sample Peaker, but this is only going to work with certain plugins. So if we go to the video, or not certain plugins, certain video processor presets. So the main one, or I think the only one it works with, is the oscilloscope. So let's turn this off. It shouldn't do anything, but this is how you get an oscilloscope on your video. Foreground color. I'm not sure where my video disappeared to. We got a spectrum analyzer. But anyways, there's a special JS plugin that will output the audio signal to the video processor. But there's only these synthesis ones that work. Hopefully I zoomed in and you can actually see that. These synthesis presets, oscilloscope with blitter, and spectrum analyzer. Those ones are coded to respond to that. And all the other ones are not. Antoine asked me, do you have a specific workflow for versioning cues with different cuts of video? I don't really do any music for video, so sorry, I don't have any insight on that at all. Audio Assault has some inexpensive transient designers. Yes, I agree. I haven't used those ones, but that is true. Question, do you prefer macOS over Windows for any particular reason for audio music production, or is it just that what you've been used to? I started out on Windows. I went to audio school in 2006. They were using Macs there. I did not like them. I had a PC at home. I was one of, I think, 2 people on PC at that time at my school. And I liked that I could get a more powerful computer, but I always had more trouble than other people. And then I built, I think, 2 more custom PCs after that, and they just wouldn't last. I would have blue screens. I would just constantly crash. Reaper was powerful, but it would crash on me all the time. I kind of gave up. I just bought an iMac, and like I didn't have any problems since. I have I've had like 3 days of downtime because of like a broken hard drive or something since I switched to Mac, where it was like every day I would have issues on Windows. So yeah, it's just been it's been more money, but it's been less stress for me. So I like Mac, and I'm gonna stick with it. Um, Andrew Miller asked a question that I have already answered earlier in the stream. Um, the overload stays even when I turn the master fader to infinity. Yeah, so the master fader is after everything, so it's not going to. The only way to fix it is to close and reopen the project. Oh, so maybe you have some sort of plugin that is crashing. And yeah, I would check, like, disable all your plugins and see what's going on there. But yeah, if you are consolidating tracks, they are pre-fader. I think that was the same person asking. Quick question. Apparently, my overhead and room mic equals phasing cymbals. How do you deal with that? Compress both to hell, and I want my roominess, but without the phasing. Okay, so sometimes it's a matter of the distance. Sometimes it's a matter of using the polarity button on the tracks. So if you can get your room mics even further so that it's more of a delayed signal, that can help. Facing the room mics away from the drum, so you're just getting the reverb, like pointing them at corners, like top left and right corners, as far away from the drum set as possible. That that gets less of the direct sound in there, and so you're not going to have so much phase in there. You could try changing the height of those room mics, lower to the ground or like closer to, like if you get them like right up against the surface, you're going to get less sort of bounce back. And sometimes it's that that bounce between the sound hitting the wall and coming, or going through the mic and coming back, and hitting a wall and coming back, that you get that sort of phasiness. And the high frequencies can sound really nasty like that. Yeah, I would experiment with the mic placement first, and otherwise look into delaying the signal or using a negative delay on the signal to adjust for any sort of offset in the timing. Do I think Reaper is better than Cubase? Um, it is for me. Just the flexibility of the workflow, like the ability to have an idea of what I want to do and how I want to do it, and then actually being able to make it that way, rather than doing things like having to switch tools all the time, like, you know, having everything on the keyboard, or custom controllers, or my iPad for shortcuts, things like that. That's all awesome. Things like scripting, custom actions. I know Cubase has custom actions, but they're not really even close to what you can do with Reaper. And for me, it's that kind of flexibility of making it custom that I need at this point. Okay, guys. We've been going for an hour and 20 minutes. I don't know if you guys want to keep going. I don't really have an agenda for this. I didn't really want it to be a Q&A, but kind of, just wanted to be here to help you guys if you had any questions or anything like that. If you've been lonely, stuck at home. Who has been making music these past 2 weeks or so? Who has been? So a few. Cool. How about we do type 1 if you are making music or being creative, and 2 if you haven't been able to or haven't felt like it, or it's been impossible to. So yeah, ones. That's good to hear. I've been kind of like chipping away at some demos the past couple of weeks and just like not liking them at all. Oh, Native Instruments Studio drummer has phase issues. Let's see. I would maybe check your routing, make sure it's not coming out of 2 channels at once. Like maybe it's coming out of the room track and the master, and if you are processing just the room, you might get some phase issues that way. I don't know, it's hard to say. But the nudging trick, negative nudge of a little bit might work. I'll show you guys something that I've been working on. There's a new plugin or a new sound library from Room Sound, the Bo Burchell Signature Series drums. They sent this to me. I mean, it's very similar to the J Moss stuff, the Kurt Ballou, the Blasting Room packs that I've shown before on the channel. But yeah, I recorded some stuff. I'm not really feeling good about it. I don't know. I think it sucks. I'm not saying the plugin sucks. I'm saying that my musical ideas right now suck. Let me increase my buffer size because It's at 128. And I am streaming, so it's going to take a lot of extra resources. Ryan Pun, have you seen Vin Diesel dancing? Yeah, probably, but if it's something new that I haven't, no. Okay, Andrew Miller asked again, what are the specs of my Mac laptop? It's a 2015 MacBook Pro Retina 15-inch, 2.2 gigahertz i7, which is a quad core with hyperthreading and 16 gigs of RAM. Vin Diesel dancing. I need that as a plugin. Are the guitars real? Yeah, that's my terrible playing. The drums are Room Sound Bo Burchell Signature Series. I just showed it a second ago. It's a contact library. This is how the track started. So I love just jamming with a delay like that. That's a Fender tape delay. What's the delay time? An eighth, dotted eighth note. I love jamming on that. And yeah, this guitar was kind of fun. Just like there's, I don't know. I probably spent 10 minutes recording this section, and just like this is just whatever. Like, I don't know, a bunch. Yeah, dotted eight. That sound at the end is actually I took a slide. There's lots of really terrible playing. I just like that one little sound effect. Drums remind you of Bullet from Drugstore Fanatics. Yeah, I guess I didn't reference them, but yeah. But great song. I mean, it's just a loop. Yeah, so this is what I've been working on. I mean, you would think that this is 30 minutes of work, but I spent like 5 days on it and just playing it over and over and over and just getting like a little one thing that I like. but yeah, I don't know. What I'm struggling with, I guess, is feeling like I have enough material to do a video on it, on those drums. Are the drums expensive? Someone asked. 89. Yeah, I mean they're cool. It's hard to say like, is this better than the blasting room stuff or the J Moss stuff? It's so hard to say. I mean, every time I try one of them, it's like my new favorite. But I think it's gonna come down to like, do you like what the records that Bo Purcell makes? You like his drum sounds? Like, do you want to kind of get a jump start at something like that? Then these are cool. But are these better than the J Moss ones? They're kind of they're, to me, they sound kind of similar. So I guess a good chunk of the video will just be comparing them. Do you prefer them over EasyDrummer or SSD? I'm still using EasyDrummer quite a lot. I like their drum library that it comes with, and I don't know. They're all just like, everything is good. It's so hard to give a recommendation because everything is good right now. I mean, not in the world, but like drum libraries, they're all sound good, and so I have too many choices of things that sound great. So I don't know. Easy Drummer's cool, but there's definitely not as much detail on things like snare rolls compared to the others. But it's very easy to use. Yeah. Yeah, not better or worse, just a different kit. Exactly. So like, I don't know. But it's still it's a good chunk of money. So I want it to be like, you know, I want you guys to think it's worth it. What do we usually put on my master bus for mastering? The Ozone stuff I'm using quite a bit. Some of the T-Rack stuff. It's different every time. Just whatever I'm feeling like at the time. Antoine, sounds like a lot of work. It's not a lot of work. It's just the work is getting myself motivated, I guess, and feeling like I'm having fun. And sometimes that's the hard part. Sometimes it's, yeah, play it over and over, you get tired of it. Yeah, so. Hey, MIDI man, I'm doing well, other than a little lack of motivation the last couple of weeks. Russian Punch Productions. Yeah, go ahead and send me a link. What's the best way? Email would be good. Email would be a fine way of sending that to me. Do I have projects canceled? I haven't, but I've mostly been, making videos. Um, the kind of the main sort of inconvenience for my family is that schools are canceled, so we have to do homeschool. We had like 2 week. They started the cancellations right at spring break, so we had 2 weeks off already. But then like finding out that it's indefinitely canceled is like kind of disappointing. So we're doing homeschooling. We're only the fourth day in. I don't know how it's going today, but yesterday went really well. Um, but like a lot of times, the kids fighting, asking to play Minecraft 1,000 times a day, and having to say no because I have work, and the TV's in this room. So like, you know, it gets tiring. It gets exhausting. Oh yeah, question about streaming with a Focusrite interface. You want the Reaper to mix into OBS. You need some sort of um, virtual sound card, or possibly you can take the you can take a digital out and loop it back in. But at least for me, I don't get options in OBS for which audio inputs. Um, I'm pretty sure that if I connect um, I can choose the devices, but I can't choose individual inputs to use, I think. Um, yeah, it just says audio fuse. It doesn't say audio fuse 1. But this interface, I think, has 12 inputs. I think they're just all mixed in. Did I see the new tone boosters filter plugin? I'm really sorry, guys. I can't not talk today. Just mush mouth. Tone boosters filter plugin came out today. I did not hear about that. That is awesome. Andrew Miller, I've answered your question twice now. On Windows, voice meter is good, or SAR. Yeah, on Windows, I would use Reaper's Restream plugin, possibly. You get the. Let me look this up. Get Reaper's VST versions. These are Windows only. The Restream plugin lets you stream audio out over the same system. So you put this into OBS, and you have this like on your master track in Reaper, and you can send and receive the audio through there. There's a video. I don't have the link handy, but there's a trick in OBS. You just put this plugin on one of the inputs, and you turn the input like all the way down, because Windows audio is kind of weird sometimes. An effect won't run on it if there's no sound happening at the time. And on Mac, Soundflower is dead, so you would use Black Hole. Which is just a virtual sound card thing. Same sort of thing as Soundflower when that was available before, or still being developed. So you would make this an audio device, set Reaper's output to that. I don't think you'd be able to actually do any audio recording while using that. But yeah. Okay, Russian Punch emailed me. Might take a little bit for it to show up here. Any chance of rebooting the home recording show with Ryan? Oh, well, I thought about it. I really did. I talked to him, or I emailed him a couple weeks ago, right before the quarantine stuff, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to do a show?" And he's like, "Yeah, busy." It's like he's like, "It'd be nice if I had some time off." But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it would be the perfect time to reboot that. I was also thinking of doing like a remix of the old episodes, like just do like a 10-minute edit down from like an hour-long podcast. But honestly, I don't know if it's going to happen. All right, so this is the track that was sent. From all the people who pretend to care, but gone away. Every single night I feel the trust stretching on my skin. And can I stay awake to last the grief I feel, to realize my dreams are real. I don't really hear phasiness. I probably have to hear the drums on their own. A bit of a weird frequency response. But yeah, sounds pretty good. Yeah, I think I want more space in it. Depth. More breathing room or something like that. Question about sidechaining. Yeah. All right. So we got 2 tracks. We need a. All right, we'll use that as our kick. And let's get a pad. No. All right, we'll use that as the pad. So I've got recomp, let's say, on this one. And let's do 4-to-1. Bring the threshold down. What we're doing here is we take the routing button from the track, drag it onto the plugin. We can bring this up to unity gain. Make sure that audio 1-2 goes to audio 3-4 of the receiving track and no MIDI. Now we set the detector input to auxiliary left and right. So if you're still hearing the kick drum in that track, it's because you went to 1 and 2, right? It's got to be on 3-4. Forgot to turn MIDI to none. Oh, so maybe you were triggering a MIDI note, which was, yeah. If you have it on virtual instruments, it can be like that. So if you have a MIDI note from your drums triggering your synth, it plays a C every time the kick happens. So Yeah, make sure this MIDI send is off. Okay. Can Reaper send system exclusive messages to hardware I wish to automate one-man set and embed Sysex in my tracks? I have not done that, but I believe it is possible. So you would start off with MIDI item. Let me clear this. You got a MIDI item, and you go to the Sysex lane, and you put in something here. I don't really know what you would put in. I don't know. Put in hello, I guess. But yeah, that's, as far as I know, that's what you have to do. I don't know how to prove that it works. So inside of Reaper, you do that. You also go to the routing for the track, and you send to one of your hardware outputs. So the only hardware port I have here is the Behringer port 2, send to original channels. But yeah, if you know what data to put in the Sysex message there, you can do that. I don't know if you need a note or something along with it, but let's say at bar 3, you can double click, put something in. Sure. Okay, so you should have some sort of marker there for that. Yeah, so I don't have any hardware to actually demonstrate this, but if you know what info to put in there, yeah, it's just making sure that that Sysex lane is shown. You're double clicking to enter some sort of data there, and make sure that it sends with on the hardware output on the routing. Yeah, MIDI man knows. Oh, I need to like stretch or something. I need to get up and move. How about, you guys mind if I just play a video and then do stretching or something like that for a sec? Let's how many people do we still have here? 44? Cool. Let's see. I'm looking at some of the course videos, and they are like half an hour long. I don't know if I need that long of a break. But yeah, let's. How am I even going to do this? I'm going to drag this into Reaper. I guess I'll just send, I don't know, VLC to. Send audio from VLC to my loop back. Okay, this is a. Why can't I hear it? Oh, audio is going. I just can't hear it. Sorry for the technical difficulties, guys. This is a clip from, well, this is actually one of the lessons from Mixing in Reaper Volume 3. How long is this? This is 26 minutes long. So I am going to, I'm going to run this. I'm going to mute my mic, and I'll be back in 20 minutes or so. So yeah, I'll be watching, but I'll let you guys enjoy this section of the course. So you might have been wondering why I went to an empty project tab to set up that routing. Well, it's just because I think it's a little easier for everyone to understand what's happening without the mess of all the other tracks. And because we can do it in Reaper, why not? Project tabs are an easy way for us to, change our focus on things. I'm just going to delete all these drum tracks we don't need anymore from this empty project. And we'll bring over the guitar tracks. So all these guitar tracks, let's bring those in. So let's start with the left and right rhythm guitars. This is like skater punk, pop punk. It's going to be fairly high gain. We should be able to hear kind of the articulation of everything. I'm going to go with AmpliTube 4 for this one. I do have a lot of the amp models already. I have like everything that comes with AmpliTube 3, I think. Pretty close. I bought a lot of the custom shop stuff. I'm a big fan of the JCA 20H. In fact, I ended up buying the hardware because of how good it sounded inside this plugin. I don't think most people would do that. I know this amp really well in real life, so I'm going to start here. I'm also going to put in a Tube Screamer style distortion because that is just usually a good place to start. So that's the overscream. And I'll start this with the drive at 0, the tone at 5, and the level at 5. Yeah, having these all around there is probably fine. And for cabs, it's going to start with a 4x12 closed Modern 2, a new Marshall cabinet style with a 57 and a U87. I'm going to... I really don't like how they recently changed this. I'm still getting used to it. I'm going to mute the 87 for now, and it'll just be the 57. It's here now. Turning off the room. I want the master output down kind of low just so we can get enough gain on this. I'm okay with this as a starting point. Let's see how that sounds with two guitars. So I'm going to have my left and right guitars with the same preset, and let's just see how that goes. It's two guitar performances, different guitars actually, so it's going to sound pretty wide, even going through the same effects chain. We can further change this by taking the second guitar, and maybe we'll just change the cabinet. So that's modern 2, let's try modern 1. Oh yeah, this should be down here, and this should be like that. Okay. So there's two different options. Just changing the cabinets, right? Modern 2, and did I end up with the same cabinet? I may have. 4x12 modern 2, modern M2. One I really like is, what was it? One I usually like anyways. Where is it? Oh, I really hate this. Really hate this thing. High amp. The old interface for this plugin was so much better. It's so fast to find stuff. I tend to like this one. It's got a really nice texture to it. All right, so left and right. I can live with that, but let's try something else. Let's disable those. Those are good presets. Let's find something else. I'm going to use the Line 6 Helix, and I start with the left guitar soloed first. This is an interesting plugin. Let me make it bigger for us. It's got a weird layout. It's a little less user-friendly than the other one for sure, but it has a lot more options as well. Hundreds of amps and pedals and cabinets to choose from here. We'll build a tone from scratch. We'll turn off the compressor and the distortion. We'll just basically build the same kind of preset, almost the same sort of tone as that one, but with a different amp. We'll use a tube screamer with the gain at 0, tone at 5, and the output level around 5. Going to the cabinet, this has a, what does this start out with? This is a Fender amp. How about a high watt? I'm kind of liking that. I'm going to turn off the reverb because I don't need that. So much bass. Trying to find something that works with both of those guitar parts. This part sounded really good with the orange style before I changed the cabinet. Now, the cabinets change every time you change the amp. It's kind of an annoying thing about this Helix software, but if you're using the amp plus cab module, the amplifier, changing the amplifier changes the cabinet as well. But if you're using them as two separate modules in the effects chain, then it won't do that. It's a little harder to A/B compare things quickly. See, I kind of like this tone for this down-picked part. But it sounds kind of small for the actual full mix. Either the solo lead or the rectifier. Unfortunately, it has that really sort of hazy mid-range thing, like just one note all the way through that. It's weird. By the way, I use a Tube Screamer style distortion in front of the amp because it clips it and it cuts off some of the low end. And that helps clean up the sound of the amp, but also gives it kind of an edge. So it cleans up the muddiness of the amp, but it also adds an edge. You don't need quite as much amp gain by using clipping distortion in front of it. Try a different amp. All right, I'm liking that one now. It's just a matter of finding the right combo of amp, cabinet, mic, position, filters, all this kind of stuff. You guys know all about that. But again, this is something you want to do kind of in advance of the mix. Give yourself some time to get tones and then take on the actual mix. This is almost like editing. We're building a sound out of nothing. That guitar DI had nothing usable in a mix by itself. These probably aren't going to be level matched, but let's just compare these two tones. I'm going to select them both, and I can press Command B to toggle which one is active. So here's a Helix first. So I'm liking Helix a little bit more, but I think I got to back off some of the distortion. I like them both. Let's try the Helix. You know what? We haven't heard that in stereo yet, so let's go to, we'll just duplicate that tone over to the right guitar and we'll listen to those together. All right, so that's the Helix, and here's the AmpliTube. I like them both. If it was between these two plugins, I would do the AmpliTube for the rhythm guitars and Helix for the lead guitars. For now, I'm just going to bypass those and we'll try a third option, which is a free plugin from Lapoo. It's called La456, and this is one of my favorite free distortion plugins, free amp simulators. I pretty much always use it the same way with the high gain channel, channel A, high gain. I usually turn off the bass a little bit, crank up the mids, treble there, contour wherever it feels right, and probably focus, and maybe not the bright option. Set to high quality, and then the volume I usually put all the way up. So I'll start the drive down. Now this is going to sound terrible unless I put in a convolution reverb after it. I'm going to set this to 0 latency and load in a file for our cabinet. I use the Recabinet Vintage. I think they have a couple new versions, like a plugin version, but I find it's easy enough just to go through the folders and dig up something from here. So if we're going to keep this kind of the same as it was in those other plugins, a vintage Marshall cabinet with greenback speakers, 4x12, and then we'll use a 57. And we have a couple different options for the power amp. I'm going to set this at on the cone, 1 inch away with a 6L6 power amp tube. Okay, and I'm going to normalize this to actually going to apply minus 18 dB of gain. Let's hear how this sounds, hopefully not crazy loud. So that signal chain is free, essentially. You do need to have the guitar cabinet impulse library. You can find those around pretty easily. And yeah, so I think that's pretty comparable to what we came up with in the Helix, but with less effort. Fewer options, and you can still get a great tone. Let's just go through a couple of these other options here. I usually go with the Edge 45 grill. And let's put on another free plugin. We'll put this right before the 456. This is the TSC 808 version 2. It's another free Tube Screamer emulation, and it's a pretty decent one. Okay, so there is yet another signal chain for us to compare with. So here's with the free chain LO456. And here it is compared to Helix native. It's maybe a little too much gain on that, but in any event, we have 3 different effects chains that work for these guitars. Any of them work on their own. This one guitar here is a little bit different. So I might take that Helix tone, copy that over here, and do the, what was it called? See how it sounds with the Mandarin. And we'll switch that cabinet back to something like this one. And a 57. So something like that, really simple. And now we'll just take these 3 different plugin chains that we have and kind of just mix and match with whatever works along with the drums. So these sound good on their own, and we will copy these tracks, copy, paste. Okay, and then we've got duplicates here. We'll just delete what's not in the folder. All right, so we've got AmpliTube for the rhythm guitars. I've got Helix native. I'm gonna move over to guitar lead 1. Another Helix native we'll put on guitar lead 2, and then we'll do the solo with that other free effects chain. Because we'll solo the guitars and see how they go. And maybe we'll switch that one. Copy that effects chain over, and we'll just move this Helix native over there, and we'll see how that goes. That's cool. Yeah, I'm liking all of that. If you're not making 3 different effects chains just to try things out and A/B compare and teach a course at the same time, it's a lot quicker. The ideal thing is to do this kind of on a separate day and just save these as effects chains or save these as presets. So
what I should be doing at this point is actually saving this as a preset. We didn't even look at different amps in here. We just kind of went for this one that I knew pretty well. That one's my go-to. It's just a good, simple tube amp sound that works well with high gain, pretty much any genre as well. So let's hear what we have with all of the tracks at this point. Okay, so in the next video, we will be doing our rough balance mix along with the master bus processing. See you in the next video.
So, hope you enjoyed that lesson from Mixing Reaper Volume 3. Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not make it free for anyone that's watching live? I mean, I just needed to go eat my breakfast and do my exercise, stretch a little bit because was sitting for 2 hours. But yeah, I've got 3 of those types of courses on the website. They're $30 each. You can buy the bundle for $75, and a lot of Reaper users have enjoyed them. So yeah. So what are we doing now? What would you like to do? Nick's Piano asks, does anyone know if you can customize the master track in the mixer window? First thing I want to do is make the pan to be a knob or go away. So there's not really a way that's easy to customize the mixer. You have to do it in theme editing. Like you'd have to make a special layout for the master track that doesn't have those things. It's possible, but it's not something I can really do in stream. What version of Helix is that? That was from a couple of years ago. Has it changed much? It was before it was resizable. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that. It was a couple of years ago. Yeah, version 1.8 is really slow opening in Reaper. I probably edited that video to make it faster, the opening, because it is slow, for sure. Where is it? $10 seconds to open on mine. So, yeah, it takes a while. I don't even know where you would see which version you have installed. I have 1.81 installed. Has anyone got Genesis to work? I don't know what that is. Is it a plugin? Glitches with no CPU load. Genesis Pro. I don't know. Oh, that. No, I haven't tried that. So how's everyone doing now? Who else? Who was sitting down that entire time? Who's been sitting down for 2 hours? What is it? 2.5 hours watching. Because I took a break. Hope you did too. Have How do you select a snare sample to mix with the original in tonality? I like to, if I'm choosing a snare sample, I'm usually not choosing one, I'm usually choosing several. So I'll have one that has a little more low end, I'll have one that has a little more crack, and and I'll just blend them to get kind of more of a texture, and I'll kind of keep the original just to get the bleed and stuff like that. But that's about all I think about it. I don't tend to like any snare that has any sort of ring or any kind of distinctive tone to it. The other thing is matching the pitch of it. So hopefully that answers your question. Cool. Well, guys, I don't have much to say right now, but I am happy to stay and hang out if it helps you guys. Um, I'm uh, I'm refreshed after my breakfast. MIDI Man asks, "How's my family?" We're doing really well. We've been. This is not that different than my normal schedule or my normal. Sorry, I keep looking at the chat and not at the camera. Sorry, guys. This is pretty much normal for me. I would take the kids to the school and not talk to anyone and not interact with anyone, and I would come home and I would sit on the computer until it was time to pick them up, and then I would again not talk to anyone at the school. Uh, so now we just skip that walk and we stay home. And for a while I was getting um, kind of was it cabin fever, stir crazy for a while, not talking to anyone. And when I don't make a video for a while, it's like I forget how to talk to people. Um, so uh, a lot of that stuff got cut out of that video. The video on, was it analog? I think it was Analog Dreams. I was feeling so weird doing that video. I was just getting over a cold, and I hadn't talked to anyone outside of my family for like um, it felt like weeks, but then none of my dialogue got recorded. Like OBS glitched and I lost all my dialogue. And so then I just made it as fast as possible on the third take, and it it wasn't funny anymore. But there's a lot of funny stuff in the first two versions of that. So what was the question again? Um, so other than that, I think I'm well adjusted to this again, but definitely kind of missed talking to people, but didn't really want to just. This is different than just sitting down alone in my room making a video. Having the chat is really helpful for me, and hopefully it's helpful for you guys as well. Um, it's totally okay if you don't feel like doing anything. Hopefully you're not too stressed out about you know not going to work or anything like that, but staying at home is the best thing we can do right now. I want to show you guys something that that I've been working on a little bit. What video was it? There was a video, the Cyberpunk demo thing, um, where I showed OTT and how to like render some really weird sounds out of it, or like using that multiple instances of it to make weird sounds. And so I did this recording. So it was about an hour long of just basically an inaudible click from a synthesizer going into the Biome plugin. You guys remember the Biome plugin from my recent video? Multi effects. biome. So I was just going through the different presets, like Richard Devine's presets are just awesome, but using it with several instances of OTT after makes some really interesting sounds. And so I've got like several minutes of samples here that I've chopped up of just like sort of glitch sounds, like weird sounds. And I'm trying to categorize them now, but it's not working. It's such a slow process. So here's a couple like sort of things that I've categorized as drum sounds. But I've got so many more that are like beyond categorization. Let me sort these with a 0.2 second gap. Yeah, these are all biome processing silence and then editing. Like it, it doesn't. I don't know any other way to make sounds like this. So, yeah, there's a lot of fart sounds, but like there's some really interesting sounds in here as well. If you keep talking about farts, I'm just gonna keep playing this. So, yeah, weird sounds, all biome, just really sending it like a little click at like minus 120 and running it through, I think it was like 10 OTTs. Um, and then running through the biome preset, it would just make sounds like this, and I cut it down. Like I would send it a little click, and it would go for a minute, and then I would find a little thing that was interesting from that. And right now they're just sorted by length, not really in any order. So that's something that I've been thinking about or working on. Um, Okay, so I think there's a question there. Question with mixing multiple distorted guitar tracks. They fight each other, and I can't separate them. Can you explain how to fix it? Part of it's arrangement, making sure that the players are playing different things, not always playing the exact same thing. If they're playing different things, then there's more separation. Not using the exact same guitar with the same pickups and everything helps add separation. Using different amps, using different mics, using different cabinets, all those things help with separation. And then after that, it's EQ. I don't know. EQ, you can use some compression to kind of glue them together, but maybe you're using too much. You can also use less gain sometimes. That really helps. MIDI Man was asking about blending dry guitar with wet guitar. Not really. I don't think I've ever done that. I would sooner use less gain or use another layer of a clean guitar, like more of a Fender amp tone along with the distorted guitar amp tone. If I was doing something like that, or an acoustic guitar, but I wouldn't use a DI guitar along with a distorted. But yeah, if you're getting good sounds, then that's cool. AmpliTube has an option to blend the DI in with the amp signal, but I never use it except on bass. Right. That was the video project, not the audio project. You guys enjoying all the free software that's been coming out lately? That's pretty cool, good stuff. Yesterday I was trying out, what's it called? I was trying out a plugin called Snare Buzz from Waves Factory. Have you guys seen this? Do you guys know about reamping snares? You can take a snare, like a real snare, put a speaker on top, and you play your recorded snare drum or a snare sample out the speaker, and then makes the snares buzz on the bottom. You mic it up how you would a normal snare drum, but then you blend that in, and you get like a more realistic snare out of like a drum machine or something like that. You don't have to feed it with a snare sound. You could feed it with just sort of any sort of loud click or something like that. So this plugin, I think, is kind of like that idea. Whatever you put into it, it adds a snare buzz. And there's 5 different snares. You can control kind of the tightness of the rattle. And you can control the mic distance and 5 different rooms. So it's pretty cool. So I want to try that out on some of the tracks in this project, I guess. I don't know. So obviously you're supposed to use it on a snare drum, but you can use it on anything. I was using it on a bass sound to add some like rattle, and if you put a distortion after that, it's pretty cool as well. Let me just do that. Put on what am I doing? I've hit that thing where I have a bunch of energy, but then my limbs don't want to react correctly. OBXD, put on a bass sound. Okay, so let me go to new, add in snare buzz. Add in snare buzz. Come on. So it adds in this buzz. It's pretty cool. Okay. And then you put on something like Double Lock Deluxe. So without, with. So it definitely kind of adds something interesting, even just used very sparingly. So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know if there's enough there to make a video, but that's something I found interesting recently. Forget you can't see that window. Anyone know how to make a tape stop effect like how Pro Tools does verify? Me for a long time. I'm using a tape stop effect in this song actually. And I'm using cassette transport for that. But without that, let me just bypass that. Without that, it sounds like this. The way to, or another way to do that is to go to the master track, which I've shown here. Close that. Right click on your automation button and then put in play rate. And so here's my play rate envelope. I'm gonna put on a little, I'll put on a point there and bring it down to nothing here. And you want to go to your main transport bar, right click, and make sure that preserve pitch and audio items is unchecked. Wait, I guess we need to start that earlier. Come on, click there. So this is you want this to work with MIDI or without MIDI. It generally works better. And if I set this to preserve pitch, completely different. But if you have everything as audio, you can do a tape stop effect with that. Let me get rid of this. The other thing is with, I'm going to copy this section of audio over here. So this sounds like this. if I put in a stretch marker, add stretch marker at cursor. Was my cursor there? I don't think so. Well, my stretch marker cursor here. Okay, so there's, if you drag up and down, let's see, try to center this on my screen for you. So if you have your cursor pointed like this, where it's got up and down arrows, you can drag downwards, and that's going to stretch the audio. So that's retaining the pitch. If I double click and uncheck preserve pitch, why can't I click on that? Okay. Now it will change pitch over time. And you would just want to trim the end, which is pretty cool. So yeah, stretch marker rate, you can only do linear changes with that. But yeah, it's a damn cool effect. So you could have it start faster and end slower than original. Do I use Black 76 by IK in comparison with Waves or Reapers 1175? I find gain reduction shows incorrect. Can you do an alt drag in the middle? You can't with this one. Okay, so Black 76 I really like. I highly recommend that plugin. And I don't know if the gain reduction shows incorrectly or not, but it does do compression well, and I like the flexibility of the where is it? I like that you can run it in unlinked mono with the left and right buttons, or in mono and mid and side. That's really awesome. The one downside is you can't automate in mid side mode. These like second hidden parameters don't work, right? But other than that, I think it works really great. I've been using that since it came out. I haven't tried any of the new Arturia effects plugins. I'm just going to layer some snares on here. Okay, and then I'm going to put snare buzz on this. I feel like I can't hear this. Why can't I hear this? Oh, it's just kind of barely doing anything. There we go. Oh, I bet it's because I already have a stereo sound going in this. I don't know. Sounds very subtle now. Colonel Oz is asking about finding the tempo. It's pretty simple, actually. So let's do this. Let's import a recording of something like get a recent project. Let's see if I have any like rendered drum loops or something like that. All right, let's take Right. So I want to turn off the grid or turn off snapping, one or the other. And I want to find the first transient of the recording. So let's just say, for instance, it's right here. And I want to make a time selection that is 1 bar or 4 bars or something by ear. Right, so it's right there. That's 1 bar. I can press the left and right arrows to go between the sections or the ends of my selection. I want to get this as close as possible. I can right click in here, create measure from time selection, detect tempo. Right here it's saying it's a 61.9. So I just undo and I can make my project tempo 62, which is the closest whole number. But really it's probably double that. If I put the click on, it's probably 124, which is double that. It's pretty damn close, right? Let's do that another way. We'll put that back to the default of 120. So I actually hit the wrong button there that I wanted to hit. But let's do this with inserting markers. Oh, I've got a shortcut that moves the closest marker. What is... where's the default? Okay, so I've got it on Control T. So no, I don't want it. I don't want to edit. Numpad enter. I don't have a numpad. All right, so I'm using this action here. I'm going to click on to run this action during playback. You can do something like that, or you can tap it on every beat. I'm going to the extensions menu, which you might not see in the screen capture, but there's a thing called marker utilities, and you can convert all project markers to tempo markers. There are 4 markers per measure, 4/4. We can do not gradual tempo changes and remove the markers. Zoom in this. Those are my settings. And so that's come up with 62.5, roughly. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of a variation based on, how quickly I hit those buttons. That action also puts in stretch markers. But yeah, so the click now sounds like this. So, but really, for a song like this, it's much easier to do it the first way that I showed. Or there's the action. I don't know if you can see this. Hopefully you can see this. Project tempo from time selection. Any of these are going to give you some options for making, like that's your tempo detection stuff. What do I have this on? I've got another shortcut. Create measure from time selection, new time signature. So I should put in some like freely recorded guitar or something. Um, all right, so this is that guitar part without the delay that I showed, I don't know, 2 hours ago, something like that. So you've got clearly it's not 120. So you can do make a time selection. So like if this is 1 bar, which is not, it's half a bar. Let's say that's 1 bar right here. So I've got this action. I have Command I, create measure from time selection, new time signature. I press Command I. It goes like this, tempo 108. So I can make that exact or just leave it the way it is. And then I move my left time selection position over to the next downbeat, which is this note, and I can repeat that. So you would do this for things that are not recorded to the click. You can do 1 bar at a time. You can do 4 bars at a time, 8 bars at a time, whatever you want to do. But you just keep repeating that. You swap your left and right time selection markers, and it will basically just do the math for you, like changing the time in seconds to BPM. Okay, and that's where I change. So that, and it changes. So yeah, there's 3 ways to do tempo detection. Pat asked, Logic X is getting a clip launcher a la Bitwig and Ableton. What do you think about it? Would love to see such a feature. I don't really think about what other DAWs are doing. I mean, that sounds cool, but I don't know. I mean, people always want Reaper to have the stuff that Ableton has, but like, why not use Ableton for its strengths and use Reaper for its strengths? So I don't like switching between DAWs and using multiple DAWs to get the job done, but I don't know. It seems like everyone always wants more for free, or, you know, that's just my opinion on it. Question: does the newest updated Reaper lose VST support? It's not putting in my VSTs in the projects and puts them offline. I would guess that maybe you accidentally did a second version or install of Reaper, because it shouldn't touch your VSTs. But if you have a second install of it, like you did a portable install this time, or you had a portable install last time, you didn't realize. But by default, this is going to be different. So just check your VST paths, rescan again, but it shouldn't touch those. There's nothing VST related in the last update, or the last, I don't know, 3 updates. Why is OTT so weird? I saw some guy said he had the ultimate course on OTT, and he said that at depth 0 it does nothing, but that's not true. All right, I'm going to set it to depth 0, and I'm going to duplicate this plugin a bunch of times. It definitely does something. Yeah, only phase shift. But I feel like it sounds better. Mixing this plugin at 0% still makes it sound better. I've actually been making like presets and shortcuts to just run like 5 instances of OTT. My computer may explode if or melt on me if I try to stream and use Plugin Doctor, because they both take like 100% of my CPU. Yeah, I'm gonna remove those, and let me take the single snare. What the hell is my shortcut? Got a shortcut for processing with OTT. So this is the equivalent of running it through 25. So kind of weird. Okay. Let's run it through the second chain. There's 10. There's 15. There's 20. There's 30. There's 40 of them. Yeah. I'll just loop that. It's kind of cool. So, yeah, these are the kind of things that I waste my days doing. I think probably I would change this a little bit. I kind of wish that item volume automation would loop as well. That'd be cool, right? Maybe I'll just do this. No. I don't know what I'm doing. So that's before. This is after. It's weird. Okay, guys, I am completely out of steam. It's 3 hours. 3.25 hours we've been going. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you got some knowledge out of this. And yeah, hopefully it's just a distraction from what's going on in the world today. And thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, of course. And follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Support the Reaper blog through Patreon. And visit reaperblog.net for a lot more tutorials. See you guys in the next one.